The envelope felt heavy in my hands, a thick, cream-colored card stock with gold-embossed lettering that whispered prestige. I had practiced this moment in the mirror for 3 days. I had rehearsed the casual way I would slide it onto the dining table, the modest smile I would wear, the way I would say, "It's just a small thing, but it would mean a lot if you came." I should have known better. I should have looked at the calendar. I should have looked at my bank account, which had seen a significant withdrawal just 48 hours prior, a withdrawal initiated by a frantic call from my sister, Bella. We were at Sunday dinner. Pot roast. My mother, Joyce, always made pot roast on Sundays because it was Bella's favorite, even though the heavy grease always gave my father, Frank, heartburn. I waited for a lull in Bella's monologue about her latest business venture, a customized dog collar line that had yet to produce a single collar, and placed the envelope on the table. "I have some news," I said, my voice steady, though my heart hammered a nervous rhythm against my ribs. "I've been nominated for the National Innovator of the Year award. The ceremony is this Friday night, at the Grand Hotel downtown. I have 4 tickets. I'd love for you all to be there." Silence stretched across the table, broken only by the scrape of my father's fork against his china. Bella stopped mid-chew. She looked at the envelope, then at me, and then she laughed. It wasn't a kind laugh. It was that sharp, barking sound she made whenever she found something pitifully amusing. "This Friday?" Bella asked, wiping the corner of her mouth with a napkin. She reached into her purse, the designer bag I had bought her for Christmas 2 years ago, and pulled out a fan of glossy, holographic tickets. "Mia, are you serious? This Friday is the Pop Explosion Tour. I've had these VIP tickets for weeks." I felt the blood drain from my face. "Weeks?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Bella, you called me on Tuesday crying that you needed $1,000 for an emergency medical bill. You said your insurance lapsed." Bella didn't even flinch. She just rolled her eyes, a gesture so practiced it seemed painful. "It was an emergency, Mia. My mental health was in crisis. I needed something to look forward to. You know how depressed I get when my projects stall. Besides, who wants to sit in a stuffy ballroom watching a bunch of nerds accept participation trophies?" I looked at my parents. Surely they would see this. Surely the blatant lie, the misuse of my funds, the cruelty of the dismissal would register. Mom sighed, but she wasn't looking at Bella. She was looking at me with that familiar expression of weary disappointment. "Mia, honey, don't start drama at the dinner table. You know how hard your sister has been working. She deserves a night out." "But Mom," I pressed, the desperation leaking into my tone despite my best efforts to suppress it. "This isn't a participation trophy. It's a national award for the medical software I designed. It's a big deal. Dr. Rostova is flying in from Geneva." Dad finally looked up from his beef. "Don't be selfish, Mia. We already promised Bella we'd go. She needs the support. You're always fine. You have your job, your apartment, your whatever it is you do on computers. Bella needs us right now. You're always fine." That was the family motto. Mia is fine. Mia is the rock. Mia is the utility bill that pays itself. Mia is the ATM that doesn't charge fees. Bella, on the other hand, was the porcelain doll that needed to be kept on a high shelf, dusted daily, and admired, even as she cracked and chipped from her own negligence. I looked at the gold-embossed invitation sitting next to the gravy boat. It looked ridiculous now. Pretentious. Stupid. Just like me. "Right," I said. The word tasted like ash. "I understand. The concert is important." "It's not just a concert," Bella sneered, grabbing the invitation and flipping it open carelessly. "Innovator of the Year. Sounds boring as hell. We'd be asleep by the appetizers. Look, Mia, if it makes you feel better, we'll toast to you in the VIP lounge. They have an open bar." She tossed the invitation back. It landed in a smear of gravy. I stared at the stain spreading across the cream paper. Something inside me, a tiny, taut wire that had been holding me together for 34 years, began to vibrate. It didn't snap. Not yet. But the frequency changed. I picked up the invitation. I didn't wipe it off. I just folded it and put it back in my pocket. Okay, I said. My voice was different. It was hollow. Detached. Enjoy the concert. I hope the seats are worth the medical emergency. Oh, don't be passive-aggressive, Bella snapped. It's so unbecoming. You make plenty of money. Why are you always counting pennies when it comes to family? I stood up. I didn't finish my roast. I picked up my purse. I'm not counting pennies, Bella, I said, looking her dead in the eye. I'm counting costs. And the price of admission to this family just went up. What is that supposed to mean? Mom asked, her brow furrowing. It means I have to go prepare my speech, I lied. I hadn't written a word. Thank you for dinner. I walked out of the house I had paid to repaint last summer. I walked past the car I made the payments on for my father. I got into my own car, a sensible sedan that was 5 years old, and sat in the silence. I didn't cry. I sat there and let the rejection settle over me like a cold blanket. They chose a lie over my truth. They chose a concert over my career. They chose Bella's fraud over my genuine achievement. It wasn't the first time. But as I started the engine and watched the lights of their house, the house my money helped keep warm, glow in the rearview mirror, I knew it would be the last time. The drive back to my apartment was a blur of neon lights and dark highway, but my mind was traveling through time, replaying the highlight reel of the last decade. It's funny how memory works. When you're in the middle of abuse, you call it duty. You call it loyalty. It's only when you step out of the fog that you see it for what it is, theft. The dynamic was established before I could even tie my shoes. Bella was the sun, bright, burning, demanding attention. I was the gravity, invisible, constant, necessary to keep everyone from floating away, but utterly unappreciated. Bella was beautiful. That was her currency. In high school, she was homecoming queen. I was the tutor who did her math homework, so she wouldn't get kicked off the cheerleading squad. When she graduated, barely, my parents threw her a massive party. They rented a hall, hired a DJ. When I graduated valedictorian 2 years later, we went to Olive Garden. Dad forgot his wallet, so I used the check I got from my grandmother to pay. That was the beginning. 5 years ago, when I landed my first major contract with the city hospital, the first thing my mother said wasn't congratulations. It was, oh thank God. Now we can fix the roof. I paid for the roof. $12,000. I didn't ask for it back. I told myself it was my duty as a daughter. Then came Bella's career explorations. First, she was going to be an actress in LA. I paid for the apartment deposit and her headshots. She came back 6 months later, complaining that the industry was too toxic. Then she wanted to be a real estate agent. I paid for the course. She never took the exam. Then it was the boutique, the life coaching certification, the organic soap business. Every failure was met with coddling from my parents. She's just finding herself, Mom would say, stroking Bella's hair while Bella wept on the sofa. She's an artist, Mia. She's sensitive. Not everyone can be a robot like you. A robot. That's what they called my stability. My ability to hold down a job, save money, and pay my bills was seen as a lack of soul, a lack of passion. Because I wasn't messy, I wasn't interesting. Because I wasn't constantly in crisis, I didn't need love. I remember a specific Tuesday last year. I had been up for 48 hours straight, debugging the code for the emergency dispatch routing system, the very system that was now winning me this award. My eyes were burning, my back ached, and I was running on caffeine and sheer will. My phone rang. It was Dad. "Mia, the transmission on the truck went," he said, skipping a greeting. "The mechanic wants $3,000. "Hi, Dad," I said, rubbing my temples. "I'm really busy right now. Can we talk about this later?" "Later? The truck is at the shop now. How am I supposed to get to the golf course?" "Look, just transfer the money. I'll pay you back when my pension check clears." He never paid me back. He never remembered to. And if I brought it up, I was petty. Petty. That was their favorite word for my boundaries. As I pulled into my apartment complex, I looked at the dashboard clock. 8:30 p.m. Bella was probably online right now, shopping for an outfit for the concert with the money I sent for her medical emergency. I parked the car and rested my forehead against the steering wheel. The exhaustion wasn't just physical. It was a deep, Mara-level fatigue. I had spent my entire adult life trying to buy my family's affection. I thought if I was useful enough, if I solved enough problems, if I wrote enough checks, eventually they would look at me with the same adoration they gave Bella. I was wrong. They didn't love me. They loved my utility. They loved the safety net I provided so they could walk the tightrope of their own irresponsibility without fear of falling. I was their retirement plan. I was their insurance policy. I was their ATM. I thought about the receipts. I am a data person. I keep records. In my home office, in a locked fireproof box, I have every bank statement, every transfer confirmation, every text message asking for money going back 7 years. Why did I keep them? Was I planning for this? Or was it just my nature to document the world to prove that I existed? Tonight, at that dinner table, something shifted. When Bella laughed at the award, an award that represented thousands of hours of my life, my passion, my contribution to saving actual human lives, she didn't just insult my work. She devalued my entire existence. And my parents agreed with her. I got out of the car. The night air was cool. I looked up at my apartment window. It was dark. No one was waiting for me. No one was cooking me a pot roast. But as I walked toward the elevator, a strange thought occurred to me. I am free. If they don't value the source of the money, they don't deserve the money. If they don't have time for my stupid awards, they don't have time for the benefits that come with them. I didn't know it yet, but the rejection at dinner was the greatest gift they could have given me. They had cut the cord. They just didn't realize that the cord was the only thing feeding them. Friday arrived with a suffocating stillness. I had taken the day off work to prepare, but instead of excitement, I felt a ghostly calm. I moved through my apartment like a wraith, checking things off a mental list that had nothing to do with celebration and everything to do with severance. I had my dress hanging on the door of the bedroom, a sleek, navy blue silk gown that I had bought alone. It was elegant, professional, and expensive. It was the kind of dress a successful woman wears when she knows she has nothing left to prove to anyone but herself. But the outfit wasn't complete. I went to my jewelry box, a heavy mahogany chest that sat on my dresser. My hands trembled slightly as I reached for the bottom drawer. Inside, wrapped in soft velvet, should have been my grandmother's brooch. It wasn't a diamond. It wasn't gold. It was silver, shaped like a soaring lark, with tiny sapphire eyes. Grandma Rose gave it to me on her deathbed. She whispered, "For my little bird, who flies quietly but flies the highest." It was the only thing I had of hers. Bella had taken the jewelry, the furs, the antique silver. I had asked for the lark. I lifted the velvet cloth. Empty. My breath hitched. I frantically pulled the drawer out completely, dumping the contents onto the duvet. Earrings, necklaces, stray buttons scattered across the bed. But the silver lark was gone. Panic, cold and sharp, spiked in my chest. I hadn't been robbed. There was no forced entry. But then I remembered. 2 weeks ago, Bella had come over. She said she wanted to make amends for forgetting my birthday. She brought a cheap bottle of wine. We drank a glass. I went to the bathroom. She was in the bedroom looking for her phone when I came back. No. She wouldn't. Even Bella wouldn't sink that low. I grabbed my phone and dialed the number of the pawn shop on 4th Street. It was a hunch, a sickening, gut-wrenching hunch. Bella had pawned things there before, and I had been the one to go buy them back. Pawn Stars, Jerry speaking. Jerry, it's Mia Harrison, I said, my voice eerily calm. I need to know. Did my sister come in recently? Maybe with a silver brooch. Shaped like a bird? There was a pause. The typing of keys. Hey, Mia. Yeah. She was here about 10 days ago. Silver lark, sapphire chips. Said you gave it to her. Said she needed cash for, what was it? A VIP package upgrade. The world stopped spinning. It didn't tilt, it just froze. Do you still have it, Jerry? Sold it yesterday, Mia. I'm sorry. A collector from Santa Fe. It's gone. I lowered the phone. I didn't scream. I didn't throw it against the wall. I felt the tears prick the corners of my eyes, hot and stinging, but I refused to let them fall. For a VIP package upgrade. She sold my grandmother's legacy, the only symbol of love I had left in this family, so she could get better seats and free cocktails at a pop concert. And my parents let her. They knew. They always knew what she did. They probably drove her to the shop. This was it. The moment the wire snapped. But it didn't snap with a bang. It snapped with a surgical precision, severing the nerve endings that connected my heart to them. The grief evaporated, replaced instantly by a clarity so sharp it felt like inhaling ice water. I walked into the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. I looked at myself in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't the ATM. She wasn't the doormat. She was the National Innovator of the Year. I walked back into the bedroom and picked up my phone. I didn't call Bella. I didn't call Mom. I dialed a number I had saved under emergency legal. Marcus, I said when he answered. Mia. Is everything okay? The ceremony is in 3 hours. Marcus wasn't just my lawyer, he was my college debate partner. He knew where the bodies were buried because he helped me dig the graves for my own self-esteem years ago. I need you to activate the file, I said. Silence on the other end. Then, a low whistle. The nuclear option file. Mia, are you sure? Once we start this, there's no going back. We're talking foreclosure, we're talking fraud allegations, we're talking about burning the bridge while they're standing on it. They sold the lark, Marcus. Oh. The tone of his voice dropped an octave. He knew what that brooch meant. Oh, Mia. I'm so sorry. Don't be, I said, zipping up the back of my navy dress. Just bring the paperwork to the ceremony. I want to sign everything tonight. Before I go on stage. I'll be there in an hour, he said. And Mia? Wear the red lipstick. The war paint. I hung up. I applied the red lipstick. My phone buzzed. A text from the family group chat. Mom, hope your little dinner goes well. We just got to the arena. Bella looks like a star. So proud of her. Attached was a selfie. Bella, grinning manically, wearing a sequin top that probably cost $300, holding an oversized martini. My mother and father were beaming behind her, wearing Pop Explosion t-shirts. They looked happy. They looked relieved to be away from me. I typed a reply. Mia, have a great night. Make sure you watch the screens. I sent it. Then I turned off notifications for the group. I put on my heels. I grabbed my clutch. I didn't look back at the empty spot in the jewelry box. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a strategist. And tonight, while they were watching a pop star lip sync, they were going to learn exactly what happens when you bite the hand that feeds you. The Grand Hotel ballroom was a galaxy away from the sticky floors and overpriced beer of the concert arena, where my family was currently partying. Here, crystal chandeliers dripped light onto tables draped in white linen. The air smelled of expensive perfume and fresh lilies. A string quartet played softly in the corner, providing a soothing undercurrent to the low hum of intellectual conversation. I walked in alone, head held high. The navy silk dress moved around me like liquid armor. Mia. Oh my God, you look stunning. I turned to see Dr. Selma Rhodes rushing toward me. Selma was the head of the Research Institute, a woman of 60 with steel-gray hair, and a mind that could dissect complex algorithms faster than most people could read a menu. She was more of a mother figure to me in the last 3 years than Joyce had been in 30. Thank you, Selma, I said, accepting her embrace. You look wonderful. Nervous, she asked, guiding me toward our table near the stage. A little, I admitted. But focused. Good, she lowered her voice, leaning in close. Because there's been a development. A good one. We sat down. The room was filling up with the city's elite, hospital administrators, tech investors, city council members. People who built things. People who understood value. What kind of development? I asked, taking a sip of water. Selma grinned, a rare expression for her. The grant committee met this morning. They reviewed your final optimization data for the ambulance routing software. Mia, they were floored. You didn't just shave seconds off the response time, you saved an estimated 400 lives in the beta test alone. I felt a flush of pride. That's what matters, I said softly. Yes, but that's not the news, Selma continued, her eyes twinkling. Because the intellectual property is technically yours, since you developed the core code outside of office hours, the private equity firm backing the award has decided to offer a buyout of the patent, along with the prize money. I froze. Buyout. But the prize money was supposed to be $50,000. The prize money is $50,000, Selma corrected. The patent buyout and the accompanying research grant is, well, they're going to announce it. But let's just say, you won't need to worry about your mortgage. Ever. She slid a piece of paper across the table. It was an embargoed press release. I looked at the number. I blinked. I looked again. $2 million. $2 million. The room seemed to tilt. The sound of the string quartet faded into a buzz. $2 million. That was freedom. That was a house in the hills. That was my own research lab. That was a life completely untethered from the financial drain of the Harrison family. They want to announce it live, Selma whispered. It's going to be broadcast on the local network affiliates. And because this is a city pride moment, the mayor arranged for the feed to be interrupted into all major public venues tonight. It's a simulcast. My heart skipped a beat. All major public venues. Yes. The stadium, the convention center, the arena. The arena. A slow, cold smile spread across my face. My family was at the arena. They were staring at giant screens right now, waiting for a pop star. Is that a problem, Mia? Selma asked, noticing my expression. No, Selma, I said, my voice vibrating with a dark thrill. It's not a problem. It's poetic justice. I looked around the room. These people respected me. They didn't care that I wasn't a cheerleader. They didn't care that I didn't have a bubbly personality. They cared that I had solved a puzzle that saved lives. For years, I had let my family convince me that I was boring. That my work was nerdy and unimportant. Bella had called this a stupid award. This stupid award was worth more than every scam, every failed business, and every manipulative tear Bella had ever produced combined. They're going to see it, I murmured to myself. They're going to see everything. Who? Selma asked. The people who didn't have time to be here, I said. Just then, Marcus walked into the ballroom. He looked sharp in his tuxedo, holding a sleek black leather briefcase. He spotted me and gave a curt nod. Excuse me, Selma, I said, standing up. I have some legal matters to attend to before the salad is served. I walked toward Marcus. I felt lighter than air. The $2 million wasn't just money. It was power. And for the first time in my life, I was going to wield it. Did you bring them? I asked Marcus as we stepped into a quiet alcove near the kitchen entrance. Right here, Marcus patted the briefcase. The transfer of deeds, the foreclosure notices on the loans you hold the lien on, and the cease and desist for Bella regarding the defamation of your character. It's all ready for your signature. Let's sign, I said. I want the ink to be dry before I get that check. I was about to become a millionaire. But first, I had to stop being a daughter. The alcove was quiet, shielded from the chatter of the ballroom by a heavy velvet curtain. Marcus placed his briefcase on a side table and clicked the latches open. The sound was satisfyingly final. Click. Click. Like the cocking of a gun. You look dangerous, Mia, Marcus said, pulling out a stack of documents bound with blue legal clips. I like it. I feel dangerous, I replied. I feel like I've been asleep for 30 years, and I just woke up. Marcus laid the papers out. To an outsider, they looked like boring contracts. To me, they were the chronicle of my exploitation, and the instrument of my liberation. Okay, let's review, Marcus said, slipping into his professional mode. He pointed to the first document. This is regarding the house. Your parents think they own it. But 3 years ago, when they were about to default, you bought the note from the bank to save them from foreclosure. You set up that shell company, Phoenix Holdings, right? Right, I confirmed. I didn't want them to know it was me. I knew if they knew I held the mortgage, they'd never pay a dime. I wanted them to feel the pressure of a bank. Well, they haven't paid Phoenix Holdings in 6 months, Marcus said, tapping the paper. Legally, you can foreclose. Tonight. This document initiates the eviction notice. 30 days to vacate. My hand hovered over the pen. I thought about the house. My childhood bedroom. The kitchen where Mom made pot roast for Bella and ignored me. The living room where Dad watched TV while I fixed the Wi-Fi. They'll be homeless, I said. It wasn't a hesitation, just a statement of fact. They have Bella, Marcus countered. The star. Let her buy them a house with her ticket money. I signed. The scratching of the pen sounded loud in the silence. Mia Harrison. Next, Marcus flipped the page. The car. You're the co-signer. Actually, you're the primary signer, your dad is the co-signer. He's missed 3 payments. You've been covering them automatically. This document removes your authorization for autopay and reports the vehicle as unauthorized use if he doesn't refinance in his own name within 48 hours. He can't refinance, I said. His credit score is lower than his golf handicap. Not your problem, Marcus said. Sign. I signed. And finally, Marcus pulled out a thick folder. Bella. He opened it. It wasn't a contract. It was a ledger. These are the promissory notes she signed. Every time you loaned her money for her businesses, the soap, the coaching, the dog collars, you made her sign a standard loan agreement. She thought it was a joke. She laughed when she signed them, remember? I remember, I said. She drew a smiley face next to her signature on the $5,000 note. Well, the smiley face is legally binding, Marcus grinned, his teeth looking sharp. Total principal plus accrued interest is $48,000. This is a demand letter. Immediate repayment, or we seize assets. She has no assets, I said. Except designer bags and, oh, wait. What? The concert tickets, I said. And whatever she bought with the brooch money. We'll garnish her wages, Marcus said. If she ever gets a job. I signed the demand letter. Marcus gathered the papers and slid them back into the briefcase. Okay. That's done. My courier will deliver these tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. They'll be served while they're nursing their hangovers. Perfect, I said. Marcus looked at me, his expression softening slightly. Mia, are you ready for the fallout? They are going to come for you. They are going to scream, cry, gaslight, and try to destroy you. They will paint you as the villain. Let them, I said, smoothing the silk of my dress. A villain is just a hero whose boundaries were violated one too many times. I have the receipts, Marcus. I have every text, every email, every bank transfer. If they want to go to war, I have the ammunition. And in about 20 minutes, Marcus checked his watch, you're going to have a $2 million war chest. We walked back into the ballroom. The lights were dimming. The ceremony was starting. I sat down next to Selma. My phone buzzed in my clutch. I glanced at it under the table. Bella, text OMG, this opening act sucks. I need another drink. Can you transfer $50? My card got declined. LOL. I stared at the screen. My card got declined. Of course it did. Because I had cancelled the supplementary card I gave her an hour ago via my banking app. I didn't reply. I just watched the delivered status sit there. Ladies and gentlemen, the MC's voice boomed over the speakers. Welcome to the National Innovation Awards. Tonight, we honor those who look at the broken systems of our world and say, I can fix this. I can fix this, I thought. I looked at my phone one last time. Bella, text Mia. Hello. Don't be a bitch. Mom is thirsty. I powered the phone off. I can fix this, I whispered to myself. By deleting it. The contrast between my reality and theirs could not have been more stark if we were on different planets. In the ballroom, the lights dimmed to a rich, warm purple. A hush fell over the crowd as the mayor took the podium. The air was cool, conditioned, and respectful. Waiters moved silently in the shadows, refilling wine glasses with a vintage Pinot Noir. I sat with my hands folded in my lap, surrounded by colleagues who whispered words of encouragement. You deserve this, Mia, a young intern named Sarah whispered from the table behind me. Your code changed everything. At the arena, as reconstructed later from videos and texts, the air was thick with the smell of sweat, spilled beer, and illegal vape smoke. Bella was squeezing her way through a throng of screaming teenagers, holding 2 plastic cups of watered-down margarita. My parents were jammed into their VIP seats, which were really just slightly padded folding chairs in a roped-off section. The music was deafening, a bass-heavy thumping that rattled the teeth. Mom was fanning herself with a program, looking miserable but forcing a smile for Bella's Instagram stories. In the ballroom, our next honoree, the mayor began, his voice projecting authority and warmth, is a woman who saw a crisis in our city's emergency response times. While others complained, she coded. While others slept, she simulated. A video package began to play on the large screens flanking the stage. It showed ambulances weaving through traffic. It showed 911 dispatchers looking relieved as my software routed calls efficiently. Then, my face appeared on the screen. A professional headshot, looking serious and capable. At the arena, Bella was screaming at a bartender. Do you know who I am? She was shouting, her words slurring slightly. My card is fine. Run it again. The bartender, a tired man in his 20s, just shook his head. It's declined, lady. Insufficient funds or blocked by the issuer. Next. Bella stomped back to her seat, empty-handed and furious. She plopped down next to Dad. Mia cut me off, she hissed. Can you believe that? On tonight of all nights. Ungrateful, Dad grumbled, wiping sweat from his forehead. After everything we've done for her. In the ballroom, please welcome to the stage, the mayor announced, the winner of the National Innovator of the Year award. Ms. Mia Harrison. The applause was thunderous. It wasn't polite clapping, it was a roaring ovation. People stood up. Dr. Rostova was beaming, clapping so hard her bracelets jingled. I stood up. My legs felt strong. I walked up the stairs to the stage. The spotlight hit me, blindingly bright. It felt like walking into the sun. At the arena, the pop star had just finished her set. The lights in the arena stayed down, but the music stopped. A confused murmur rippled through the crowd of 20,000 people. Why are they stopping? Bella whined. Is it an intermission? Suddenly, the massive Jumbotrons, screens the size of small houses that hung over the stage, flickered. The logo for the pop explosion tour vanished. In its place, a live feed from the Grand Hotel appeared. What is this? Mom squinted at the screen. Is that news? Boo! Someone in the crowd yelled. Bring back the music. But then, the camera zoomed in. In the ballroom, I reached the podium. I took the heavy crystal trophy from the mayor. I looked out at the sea of faces. Thank you, I said into the microphone. My voice didn't shake. This award isn't just for me. It's for every person who has ever been told that their quiet work doesn't matter. It's for everyone who does the math while others make the noise. At the arena, Bella dropped her phone. On the giant screen, 50 feet tall, was her sister. Me. Wearing the navy dress she had told me was frumpy. Looking radiant. Looking powerful. That's Mia. Dad shouted, pointing a trembling finger. Joyce, look. It's Mia. The people around them turned. You know her? A teenager asked. That's my sister. Bella yelled, suddenly changing her tune. She stood up on her chair. That's my sister up there. Mia. I taught her everything she knows. She waved at the screen as if I could see her. She wanted the attention. She wanted the reflected glory. In the ballroom, but that is not all, the mayor continued, interrupting the applause. He gestured to a man in a suit walking onto the stage carrying an oversized check, the kind used for lottery winners. On behalf of the Venture Capital Guild and the City Grant Commission, the mayor boomed, "We are pleased to present Ms. Harrison with the grand prize for her intellectual property." He turned the check around. At the arena, the camera zoomed in on the numbers. $2 million. The entire arena went silent for a heartbeat. 20,000 people did the math at the same time. Bella stopped waving. Her mouth fell open. Her eyes bulged. Mom grabbed Dad's arm so hard she left a bruise. Frank, she gasped. Frank. Look at the zeros. 2 million, Dad whispered. 2 million. The silence in the arena broke. But not with boos. A wave of woe and applause rippled through the crowd. Bella stared at the screen. She looked at the check. Then she looked at her declined credit card in her hand. The realization hit her like a physical blow. The sister she had mocked, the ATM she had squeezed for pennies, was standing there holding a fortune. A fortune that Bella had just been too busy to witness. In the ballroom, I held the check. It was light, but it carried the weight of a new life. I looked directly into the camera lens. I knew the feed was going out to the city. I knew they were watching. I didn't smile a warm, inviting smile. I smiled the way a chess player smiles when they say checkmate. I looked right at them. See me now? I thought. Good. Now watch me leave. The moment was electric. Standing on that stage, holding a check that represented more money than my father had earned in his entire life, I felt a strange sensation. It wasn't just joy. It was vindication. It was the physical manifestation of "I told you so," but without saying a word. Dr. Rostova handed me the microphone again. Mia, would you like to say a few words about your support system? It was a standard question. This was the part where I was supposed to thank my loving family for believing in me. This was the part where I was supposed to weep and say I couldn't have done it without my mother's soup and my father's wisdom. I looked at the camera. I imagined Bella's face on the Jumbotron, distorted by shock and greed. I imagined the gears turning in my father's head, calculating how much of this $2 million he was owed. I said, my voice clear and amplified across the city. I want to thank the people who pushed me, I began. The people who taught me that independence is the only true security. The people who showed me that if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself because no one is coming to save you. The audience clapped politely, thinking I was being empowering. And I continued, my eyes narrowing slightly, I want to thank the people who couldn't be here tonight. Because their absence gave me the space to finally recognize my own worth. I paused. To my team at the lab, I turned to Selma and the interns. You are my family. You are the ones who stayed late. You are the ones who care about the work, not the reward. This is for us. I raised the check. The ballroom erupted. At the arena, the reaction was very different. She didn't say our names, Bella screeched, her voice cracking. She didn't thank us. We're her family. She said absence, Mom whispered, her face pale. She knows we're not there. She's ungrateful. Dad yelled, standing up. After I let her live in my house. After we raised her. People in the VIP section were staring at them. Not with awe but with disgust. A woman in the row ahead turned around. Hey, aren't you the ones who were bragging about ditching her ceremony for this concert? You called it a stupid award. Bella flushed red. Shut up. You don't know anything. That's my money up there. That's family money. $2 million, Dad muttered, his eyes glazed over. We can buy a boat. We can fix the truck. We can. We have to go, Bella said, grabbing her purse. We have to go to the hotel. Now. The concert isn't over, Mom said weakly. Screw the concert. Bella screamed, causing the security guard to look over. Mia has $2 million. We need to be there when she gets off that stage. We need to celebrate with her. Celebrate, Dad repeated, nodding vigorously. Yes. We need to remind her who loves her. They scrambled out of their seats, knocking over their plastic cups. They pushed past people, stepping on toes, fueled by a sudden, desperate love for the daughter they had ignored 4 hours ago. In the ballroom, I walked off the stage. The adrenaline was starting to fade, replaced by a cold resolve. Marcus met me at the bottom of the stairs. That was masterful, he said. And vague enough to avoid a lawsuit, but specific enough to hurt. They're coming, I said. I can feel it. Let them come, Marcus tapped his phone. Security at the front desk has been alerted. Your name is on the Do Not Disturb list for the entire hotel. And I have the police on speed dial if they cause a scene. They will, I said. They think that money belongs to them. It doesn't, Marcus said firmly. It belongs to the patent holder. You. Phoenix Holdings. You. The trust we set up this afternoon. You. I took a deep breath. I'm going to the reception. I'm going to drink champagne. I'm going to laugh with Selma. Do that, Marcus said. I'll handle the trash at the door. At the arena parking lot, the Harrison family was in chaos. Where is the car? Bella shrieked, clicking her fob. I can't find the car. It's over there, Dad panted, running behind her. Hurry up. The traffic is going to be terrible. They piled into Dad's truck, the one with the transmission I had paid to fix last year. Dad slammed on the gas. Text her, Mom commanded Bella. Text her and tell her we're on our way. Tell her we surprised her. Tell her we were watching on the big screen, and we're so proud we're crying. Bella's thumbs flew across the screen. Bella, text sister. OMG. We saw you. We are so proud. Leaving the concert now to come celebrate. Drinks on us, JK on you LOL. See you soon. Love you. I saw the text pop up on my phone as I accepted a glass of champagne from a waiter. I showed it to Marcus. He laughed. Predictable. They pivoted from stupid award to sister OMG in record time. Should I reply? I asked. No, Marcus said. Let them drive across town in traffic. Let them run up the parking meter. Let them get to the door. That's when the lesson begins. I swiped the notification away. To the Innovator of the Year, Selma said, raising her glass. To boundaries, I said, clinking my glass against hers. The crystal chimed. It was the sound of a new beginning. The party was in full swing. I was surrounded by investors asking about the scalability of my algorithm. For the first time in my life, I wasn't talking about Bella's drama or my parents' health problems. I was talking about ideas. It was intoxicating. But outside the double doors of the grand ballroom, a different kind of drama was unfolding. I didn't see it happen live, but the video went viral later that night. A local news crew, still hanging around to get interviews with the winners, caught the whole thing on camera. My family arrived at the hotel entrance looking disheveled. Bella's sequins were tacky under the hotel's elegant portico lights. Dad was sweating through his t-shirt. Mom looked frantic. They marched up to the velvet rope where two large security guards stood with a guest list. We're here for Mia Harrison, Bella announced, flipping her hair. I'm her sister. These are her parents. We're the guests of honor. The guard, a man named Tiny who was anything but, looked down at his clipboard. He scanned the names. He scanned them again. I'm sorry, Tiny said, his voice a deep rumble. You're not on the list. Check again, Dad barked, stepping forward. Mia Harrison. The winner. The one with the big check. We're her family. I have the list right here, sir, Tiny said politely but firmly. Ms. Harrison checked in alone. Her authorized guest list includes Dr. Selma Rhodes and Mr. Marcus Vance. No Harrisons. That's a mistake. Mom cried, grabbing the velvet rope. She's our daughter. We were delayed. She's expecting us. She is not expecting you, Marcus's voice cut through the air. I wasn't there but Marcus told me later. He had stepped out to the lobby when he got the text from security. Who are you? Bella sneered. I'm Mia's attorney, Marcus said, standing on the steps, looking down at them. And I'm afraid you're trespassing. Trespassing? Bella laughed, a high, hysterical sound. We're here to celebrate. Mia won $2 million. We need to see her. Mia is busy celebrating with the people who supported her before she was a millionaire, Marcus said calmly. You made your choice tonight. You chose the concert. Go back to the concert. Listen here, you suit, Dad growled, pointing a finger at Marcus. You don't get to keep a father from his daughter. That money is family money. We live under the same roof, well, she pays for the roof but we're family. Communal property. Actually, Marcus smiled about that roof. You'll be receiving a courier packet tomorrow morning. I suggest you read it carefully. Especially the part about eviction. Eviction? Mom gasped, clutching her chest. Is she crazy? We're her parents. She's done, Marcus said. She's done being the ATM. She's done being the doormat. Tonight, she realized she's the prize. And you? You're just the people who missed out. Bella lost it. She lunged for the rope. Mia. Mia, come out here. Tell this lawyer to shut up. Give me my money. The news camera swung around. The bright light hit Bella's face. She looked deranged, mascara running, hair frizzy, screaming for money she hadn't earned. Ma'am, step back, Tiny said, unhooking the rope to block her path. Don't touch me. Bella shrieked. I'm a VIP. I'm a star. You're a disturbance, Tiny said. Leave now, or we call the police. Call them. Dad yelled. My daughter is being held hostage by this lawyer. Marcus sighed and nodded to Tiny. Do it. Inside the ballroom, the music masked the sirens. I was laughing at a joke Selma made about coding errors. I didn't hear the commotion. I didn't see my sister being escorted into a squad car for disorderly conduct. I didn't see my parents weeping to a reporter about how fame changed their daughter. I only found out an hour later when I went to the ladies' room and checked my phone. The video was already trending on Twitter. Hashtag entitled family hashtag award show meltdown. I clicked play. I watched Bella scream, give me my money, at a security guard. I watched my father try to shove a lawyer. I felt nothing. No embarrassment. No shame. Just a profound sense of distance. It was like watching a nature documentary about a chaotic species I no longer belonged to. I washed my hands. I looked in the mirror. Goodbye, Bella, I whispered to my reflection. Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, Dad. I dried my hands. I walked back out to the party. The champagne was cold. The future was bright. And for the first time in 34 years, my bank account and my soul belonged entirely to me. Everything okay? Marcus asked when I returned to the table. Better than okay, I said. It's finished. Not quite, Marcus warned. Tomorrow morning, the papers arrive. That's when the real noise starts. Let them make noise, I said, taking a sip of my drink. I bought noise-canceling headphones. And a new house. The sun rose over Las Vegas with a blinding, unforgiving brightness, the kind that exposes every crack in the pavement and every lie told in the dark. I hadn't slept. I didn't need to. I was running on a high-octane fuel of adrenaline and absolute clarity. I sat in the hotel suite, sipping a black coffee, looking out at the strip. My phone was vibrating on the glass table every 30 seconds. Mom. Dad. Bella. Mom. Aunt Carol. Dad. They were relentless. After the humiliating scene at the hotel entrance the night before, where my sister was handcuffed for trying to bite a security guard and my father was threatened with a restraining order, you would think they would have the shame to go hide in a hole. But that is the thing about narcissists. They don't feel shame. They feel wronged. They rewrite history in real time to make themselves the victims. I picked up the phone. I didn't answer the call. I opened the group chat. Mom, Mia, we are so worried about you. The police were so rude to us last night. We know you didn't mean to lock us out. Please come home. We made a special breakfast. We need to talk about the future. The future. That was code for the money. I looked at Marcus, who was sitting across the room reviewing the final eviction papers. It's time, I said. Are you sure you want to do this in person? Marcus asked, looking over his reading glasses. I can have the constable serve them. You don't have to see their faces. No, I stood up, smoothing down my blazer. I wasn't wearing the glamorous gown anymore. I was wearing a sharp, tailored white suit. I looked like a CEO. I looked like the owner of Phoenix Holdings. I need to see it. I spent 30 years being invisible in that house. I want to be the last thing they see before they leave it. We drove to the house in my new rental car, a sleek black SUV that cost more to rent for a week than my father's truck was worth. Pulling into the driveway felt surreal. The house looked exactly the same. The peeling beige paint, the overgrown bougainvillea bush that Dad was always about to trim, the oil stain on the driveway. It was the set of my childhood trauma. But today it didn't look scary. It looked small. I walked to the front door. I didn't use my key. I rang the doorbell. It took 3 seconds. The door flew open. Mia. Mom stood there, wearing her best Sunday dress, an apron tied around her waist. Her smile was stretched so tight it looked painful. Behind her, the smell of bacon and burnt toast wafted out. It was a sensory trap. She was trying to trigger the good daughter subroutine in my brain. Come in, she ushered us inside, ignoring Marcus entirely. We were just so worried. Bella is a mess, poor thing. The police kept her for 3 hours. A misunderstanding, of course. I walked into the living room. Bella was sprawled on the couch with a wet washcloth over her eyes. Dad was sitting in his recliner, the one I paid for, staring at the TV, but the TV was off. She's here. Mom announced, clapping her hands. Bella sat up. She looked terrible. Her mascara was smeared, and she was wearing sweatpants. But the moment she saw me, her eyes darted to my hands, looking for a checkbook. Mia, Bella's voice was raspy. You have no idea what they did to me. They treated me like a criminal. You need to sue that hotel. Seriously. We can get millions for emotional distress. Hello, Bella, I said, my voice cool. I didn't sit down. I stood in the center of the room, near the fireplace. Well, don't just stand there, Dad grumbled, though his tone was softer than usual. A wary softness. Sit down. Joyce made pancakes. We have things to discuss. Big things. Yes, we do, I said. First off, Dad pointed a finger at me, falling into his old habit of lecturing. What happened last night was a disgrace. A misunderstanding, sure, but you embarrassed the family. We forgive you, though. We know the fame went to your head a little bit. I almost laughed. We forgive you. The audacity was breathtaking. However, Dad continued, now that the dust has settled, we need to talk about the allocation of funds. I've been up all night doing the math. 2 million is a lot, but taxes will take a chunk. I figure we clear about 1.2 million. I found a nice boat for 40,000. Bella needs about 50 to restart her brand properly this time. And your mother and I want to upgrade to a condo in Henderson. He was spending it. He was literally spending the money I earned while I was standing right in front of him. And, Bella chimed in, I need a new car. The BMW is 3 years old, Mia. It's embarrassing. And I need to pay off a few things. Small debts. Small debts, I repeated. Like the money you got for Grandma's silver lark. The room went dead silent. The air was sucked out of the space. Mom froze with the plate of pancakes in her hand. Bella's mouth snapped shut. Dad shifted in his chair. You know about that? Bella whispered. I know everything, I said. I know you sold it to buy VIP tickets. I know you mocked my award. I know you texted me for money while I was on stage accepting the biggest honor of my life. Mia, honey, Mom started, her voice trembling. It was just an old pin. Bella needed, stop, I cut her off. I didn't yell. I didn't have to. My voice was like a whip crack. I'm not here to argue about jewelry. I'm here to introduce you to someone. I stepped aside. Marcus stepped forward, placing his briefcase on the coffee table. This is Marcus Vance, I said. He is my attorney. And he is the legal representative of Phoenix Holdings. Dad frowned. Phoenix Holdings. Who cares? Who are they? You should care, Frank, Marcus said, opening the briefcase. Because Phoenix Holdings is the company that owns this house. The confusion on my father's face was genuine. He was a man who never read the fine print, who signed whatever was put in front of him if it meant instant relief from responsibility. What are you talking about? Dad scoffed. The bank owns the mortgage. I pay the bank. Well, Mia pays the bank, but it's in my name. Not for 3 years, I said. Remember when you were 3 months behind? The bank was going to foreclose. You were panicking. You signed a refinancing agreement with a private equity firm to save the house. Yeah, so. Dad waved his hand. Just paperwork. That private equity firm is a shell company, I explained, watching the realization slowly dawn on him. It's called Phoenix Holdings. And I am the sole owner of Phoenix Holdings. I watched the color drain from his face. It started at his forehead and washed down to his neck. You own the mortgage, he stammered. I own the debt, I corrected. And according to the contract you signed, if you miss 3 consecutive payments, the lender has the right to accelerate the loan and demand full payment immediately. Or initiate eviction. But you paid the payments. Mom cried out, dropping the plate of pancakes onto the coffee table. Syrup splattered onto the eviction papers. You always pay them. I stopped, I said. 3 months ago. I stopped transferring the money to your account, Dad. Did you not notice? I thought it was a glitch. Dad sputtered. I thought you'd fix it. You always fix it. I didn't fix it, I said. I let it default. Intentionally. You set us up. Bella shrieked, jumping off the couch. You witch. You set your own family up. I held you to the standard of an adult, I countered. You lived in a house for free. You drove cars for free. You ate food for free. And when I asked for one single night of support, you sold the only thing I loved and went to a concert. Marcus slid a paper across the table. It was heavy, legal bond paper. This is the notice to quit, Marcus said calmly. Phoenix Holdings is exercising its right to foreclose. You have 24 hours to vacate the premises. 24 hours? Dad roared, standing up. His face was purple. You can't do that. I'm your father. I changed your diapers. And I paid for your truck, your roof, your heart medication, and your gambling debts. I listed them off, ticking them on my fingers. I think we're even on the diaper change. I'm not leaving, Bella crossed her arms, jutting out her chin. I have rights. I'm a tenant. Actually, Marcus pulled out another file. You're a squatter. You're not on the lease. You're not on the deed. And regarding your rights. He opened the file on Bella. We have a tally here of the personal loans Mia has given you over the last 5 years. Totaling $48,000. Plus interest. We are filing a civil suit today to garnish any future wages. And we've already contacted the credit bureaus. Bella looked like she was going to be sick. Mia, Mom threw herself at my feet. Literally. She fell to her knees, grasping the hem of my white trousers. It was a performance, but it was a pathetic one. Mia, please. Don't do this. Where will we go? We're family. We love you. I looked down at her. I remembered being 7 years old, begging her to look at a drawing I made, and her pushing me away because Bella needed her hair braided. I remembered being 16, winning the science fair, and coming home to find them celebrating Bella passing her driving test on the 3rd try. You don't love me, Mom, I said, my voice trembling slightly, not with sadness, but with the release of a heavy burden. You love what I do for you. You love the ATM. Well, the ATM is out of order. Permanently. I stepped back, pulling my leg away from her grasp. 24 hours, I said. If you're not out by noon tomorrow, the sheriff comes. And unlike the hotel security, the sheriff doesn't care if you scream. You're dead to us. Dad screamed as I turned to leave. If you walk out that door, you have no father. I stopped at the door. I looked back at the three of them, a tableau of greed and incompetence frozen in a living room that smelled of stale bacon and desperation. Dad, I said softly. I haven't had a father in 20 years. I just had a dependent. I walked out. Marcus followed. We got into the black SUV. Are you okay? Marcus asked as I buckled my seatbelt. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But my lungs felt like they were filling with air for the first time in my life. Drive, I said. I want to go buy some furniture for my new house. The next 24 hours were a masterclass in the collapse of a narcissistic system. I didn't go back to the house. I stayed in the hotel, but I had reports coming in from neighbors and the private investigator Marcus had hired to ensure the property wasn't vandalized. Mrs. Higgins, the neighbor across the street who had baked me cookies when I graduated college because my parents forgot, texted me play-by-play updates. Mrs. Higgins, lots of yelling over there. A moving truck came but left because your dad yelled at the driver about the price. Mrs. Higgins, Bella is throwing clothes onto the lawn. I think she's fighting with your mother. It was the implosion I had predicted. When the common enemy, me, was removed and the resources, my money, were cut off, they turned on each other. Like starving wolves in a cage. Noon the next day arrived. Marcus and I pulled up to the curb. A sheriff's cruiser was already there. The scene on the lawn was chaotic. Garbage bags filled with clothes were piled near the mailbox. Dad's recliner was sitting in the driveway, looking sad and worn in the sunlight. Dad was shouting at the deputy. This is illegal. Squatters' rights. I know the law. Sir, the deputy, a patient man named Officer Miller, said, the owner has the deed. The foreclosure is valid. You have been given notice. You need to leave the property. The owner is my daughter. Dad spat. She's an ungrateful brat. I stepped out of the car. The moment they saw me, the dynamic shifted. Bella ran toward me. She looked disheveled, her eyes puffy. Mia. Mia, tell them to stop. Look, I'm sorry, okay. I'm sorry I called the award stupid. I'm sorry about the concert. Just give us another chance. I'll get a job. I promise. It was the bargaining phase. It's too late, Bella, I said. You had 10 years to get a job. You had a week to apologize for the brooch. You chose to lie. It was Mom's idea. Bella screamed, spinning around to point at our mother. She told me to sell it. She said you wouldn't notice because you never wear jewelry. You liar. Mom shrieked, dropping a box of dishes. You begged me for ticket money. You said you'd pay me back when your brand took off. Dad knew too. Bella yelled. He drove us to the pawn shop. Shut up. All of you shut up. Dad roared. The neighbors were all out on their porches now. The veneer of the perfect, struggling family was stripped away. Everyone could see them for what they were, grifters turning on each other. "Officer," I said to the deputy. "I want the locks changed. Now." A locksmith, who Marcus had waiting in his van, stepped forward with a drill. The sound of the drill biting into the metal of the front door was the loudest sound on the street. It was the sound of finality. "Where are we supposed to go?" Mom wept, sitting on one of the garbage bags. "We have no money. The accounts are empty." "I hear the Motel 6 on the highway has weekly rates," I said calmly. "And Dad still has his pension. It should cover a small apartment if Bella gets a job." "You're enjoying this," Dad sneered, clutching his chest as if faking a heart attack. "You're enjoying seeing your family destitute." I looked at him. I searched my heart for guilt. I found none. "I'm not enjoying it, Dad," I said honestly. "I'm just indifferent. I spent my whole life setting myself on fire to keep you warm. And when I burned out, you complained about the ash. I'm done burning." The locksmith stood up. "Done, Ms. Harrison. New keys." He handed me a shiny brass key. "Thank you," I said. I turned to my family. They were huddled on the driveway, surrounded by the debris of their lives. They looked small. They looked pathetic. But they also looked like strangers. "You can take the truck," I said. "I won't report it stolen if you refinance it within a week. But don't contact me. Don't email me. Don't come to my office. If you do, Marcus will file for harassment so fast your head will spin." "Mia." Mom whispered. I didn't answer. I got back in the car. "Let's go," I said to Marcus. As we drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror one last time. I saw them arguing again, pointing fingers, screaming at the sky. They were stuck in a loop of their own making. I was finally driving straight ahead. 6 months have passed since that day on the lawn. People ask me if I regret it. They ask if I miss them. They ask if $2 million can really replace a family. Here is the truth: the money didn't replace my family. The money just gave me the freedom to build a new one. I bought a house in the hills, overlooking the city. It has a giant kitchen where I cook dinner for my friends, my real friends. Selma comes over on Sundays. We don't eat pot roast. We eat whatever we want. We talk about ideas. We talk about the future. I used a portion of the prize money to start a scholarship fund for students who have been estranged from their families. It's called the Silver Lark Foundation. Every year, we help 5 young women pay for college so they never have to rely on people who hurt them. As for the Harrisons, I heard through the grapevine, aka Mrs. Higgins, that they are living in a 2-bedroom apartment in a rough part of town. Dad had to go back to work as a greeter at a hardware store. Mom cleans houses. Bella is working as a waitress at a diner. She blocked me on social media, but I hear she tells customers that her sister stole her inheritance. Let her tell the story. I don't care about the narrative anymore. I care about the truth. Last week, I received an email. It was from Dad. It had no subject line. "Mia, your mother is sick. We need help with the copay. Please. Be the bigger person." I stared at the screen. The old Mia would have clicked reply. The old Mia would have felt the guilt clawing at her throat. The old Mia would have transferred the money, hoping that this time it would buy their love. But I am not the old Mia. I am the Mia who knows her worth. I moved the cursor. I didn't click reply. I clicked block. Then, I closed the laptop. I walked out onto my balcony. The sun was setting over Las Vegas, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. I took a deep breath of the warm desert air. I was alone. But for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't lonely. I realized then that family isn't about whose blood runs in your veins. It's about who would bleed for you. It's about who claps when you win, not who asks for a cut of the prize. I raised my coffee mug to the sunset. To the silver lark, I whispered. She finally flew away. Thank you for listening to my story. It wasn't easy to tell, but it was necessary. If you are sitting there right now, feeling like you are the ATM, the doormat, or the invisible child, please listen to me. You are worth more than what you can give. You are allowed to draw a line. You are allowed to say no. And you are allowed to walk away, even if it means walking alone for a while. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories of truth and justice. Until next time, keep flying.